Hello and welcome to my AQA GCSE Maths Higher Paper 2 predicted paper for this summer. Before we begin, some general information. Firstly, I'd highly recommend that you download and try doing this paper before watching the walkthrough. I've put a link in the description so you can download it to try first. The paper perfectly covers the advanced topic list material released by AQA in February 2022. All of the questions are original and created by myself, so you won't find these questions in any other paper. And finally, there's no guarantee that questions will be asked exactly in this way, but this is excellent practice for your summer exams. So let's begin with the multiple choice questions. For this one we have 2x to the power negative 3. So I would write that as 2 times x to the power negative 3. And then we spot we've got a negative index, so we need to use the negative index law. So we can rewrite x to the power negative 3 as 1 over x put to a power positive 3. We can then multiply the fractions. 2 times 1 is 2, so you get 2 over x to the power 3, which is the third answer here. For this one, we need to decide which one of these is not a triangular number. So if we draw a dot first of all, there's only 1 here, so the first triangular number is 1, and then we keep adding more dots and more rows to keep this as a triangle. So add 2 more, and you get 3 dots altogether. Add a next row, so that's 3 more, and you get 6 dots altogether. Add another row, you've got 4 more here, so that's 10 altogether. Another 5, that gets you to 15. Another 6, that gets you to 21. Another 7, that's 28. Another 8, that's 36. Now at this point we can see we've already hit the numbers 15, 21 and 36, but we've gone past the number 30. So 30 is not a triangular number. For this question, we need to decide which one of these inequalities is represented by the number line. If you look at this dot here, this one's shaded in, so we know we need a less than or equal to sign by the number 2. This one here is open though, so we just need a regular less than sign. So it must be the first answer here, because it has a less than or equal to with the 2, and a less than with the negative 1. For this question, consider this diagram first of all. If we shade in this section here and this section here, then we've got what we call the union of A and B. The diagram we've been asked for is the exact opposite of this, or the complement. So we take A union B with a little dash above it, this one here. In this question, we're told that Mars orbits the Sun every 16,500 hours. We need to calculate that time, but in years. So if we take 16,500 hours and divide it by 24, this will turn that into days. That comes out as 687.5 days. If we then take that number and divide it by 365, since that's how many days there are in a year, we'll get 1.8835611644 years. But the question said, give your answer to 2 significant figures, so we would round this to 1.9. The first part of this question asks us for the relative frequency of wins. So if we look in the table, we can see there were 7 wins, and altogether there were 20 games. So the relative frequency is 7 over 20. For the next part, we need to find out an estimate for the number of times that Jim won. Well, he wins with a relative frequency of 7 over 20, and he plays 400 games in total, so we just times this by 400. You can do this using your calculator, and you'll get 140. In this question, we're told that from January to February, the share price increased by 20%. The share price in January is £3. To increase a number by 20%, you multiply it by 1.2. So if you type this into your calculator, you get £3.60. For this next part, we need to calculate the percentage decrease from February to March. We know the share price in February, we just worked it out, it's £3.60. So what we need to work out is what percentage it decreased from February to March. A percentage decrease can be calculated using this formula, change over original times 100. So first of all, we'll work out the change in the share price. It started at £3.60 and now it's £1.08, so we'll take away £1.08, which gives you £2.52. So that's the change. We can then use the formula, change over original, so £2.52, divide by the original price, which is February's price of £3.60, and then times by 100. If you type this into your calculator, you'll get a 70% decrease. In this question, we're told that ABC is 90 degrees. This means we have a right angled triangle, which means it could be about Pythagoras or trigonometry. We're asked to find the length AB, which is this one here. Since this question is only about lengths, it's a Pythagoras question. So if we label the sides, the one we're trying to find A, the 13 would be B, and the 19 would be the hypotenuse C. We can then use the formula a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So if we substitute in values first, we get a squared plus 13 squared is 19 squared. If we rearrange, we get a squared equals 19 squared, take away 13 squared. We can then work these out, so a squared equals 361, take away 169, which gives you 192, and then we can just square root this. So a equals the square root of 192, which comes out as this number here. The question does say though, give your answer to one decimal place, so we're going to need to round this number, and it comes out at 13.9. For this question, we need to expand and simplify, so if we write the question out, we can do 7 times 2p, which is 14p, 7 times 4, which is plus 28, negative 2 times p, which is negative 2p, and then this one you have to be careful with, negative 2 times negative 5 is a positive 10. We can then simplify by collecting like terms, so we have 14p take 2p, which is 12p, and then 28 add 10, which is plus 38. The first thing to do in this question is find x. We're told x plus 7 equals 22, which is an equation we can solve. If we take 7 from both sides, on the left the 7's cancel, so we're left with x, and on the right 22 take away 7 gives you 15. Now we know what x is, we're asked what percentage of y it represents. Now instead, imagine what fraction it represents. So what fraction is x of y? Well, that's just 15, which is x, over 18, which is y. To turn this into a percentage, we just times by 100. So if you type this into your calculator, you'll get 83.3 recurring percent. In this question, we're told that the mean mass of the first 8 dogs is 34.2 kilograms. This means that when you added up all of the masses, divided by 8, you'd get 34.2. So if we do that backwards and instead do 8 times 34.2, you get 273.6, which is the total mass of all of those 8 dogs. But there's an extra dog, which has a mass of 27 kilograms. So if we add that dog in as well, 273.6, add 27, you get 300.6. Now this is the total mass of all 9 dogs. The question asked us to find the mean mass of all 9 dogs. So if we take that number 300.6, divide it by the 9 dogs, you'll get a mean mass of 33.4 kilograms. In this question, we're told that 430 students selected science. Science has 120 degrees in the pie chart, so 120 degrees represents 430 students. We need to work out how many selected maths though. If you look at the angle for maths, you can see that all of these angles must make 360 since it's a pie chart. So 360, take 120, take 48, gives you 192. So that's the angle for maths. So we need to work out that if 120 degrees is 430 students, what does 192 degrees represent? Well, I like to write 1 degree in the middle, and then say to get from 120 degrees to 1 degree, you divide by 120. And then to get from 1 degree to 192 degrees, you times by 192. So if we do the same to the number of students, we'll work out how many there are. So 430 students, divide by 120, and then times by 192. If you divide by 120 first, you'll get this number, and then if you times that number by 192, you'll get 688. So the answer is 688 students. For this question, we need to find a prime number that when you times it by 2 and then add 1, you get a cube number. So write down your prime numbers first, 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19 and so on, and your cube numbers as well. So 1, 8, 27, 64 and so on. Now it turns out the only answer to this is if you use 13 and 27, since if you do 2 times 13 and add 1, you do get 27. And you can see here 13 is the prime number and 27 is the cube number. So P would be 13 and C would be 27. In this question, we're told that machine A produces a can every 2 seconds. So for machine A, there are 60 seconds in 1 minute, so 60 divided by 2 means it produces 30 cans every minute. Machine B though is a bit faster, it can produce a can every 1.2 seconds. So for machine B, 60 divided by 1.2 means it makes 50 cans every minute. In the question we're told that both machines are turned on at 1 PM, but then at 1:25 PM machine B is turned off. So we have 25 minutes where both machines are working. If both machines are working, then altogether they're producing 80 cans, since 50 add 30 gives 80. So at 1:25 PM, we've had 25 minutes of producing 80 cans a minute, so we can do 80 times 25, which means they would have produced 2,000 cans by this point. In the question, it tells us the company needs to produce 2,480 cans, so if we do 2,480 take away 2,000, there are 480 cans still left to be made. Unfortunately though, machine A is working by itself now, since machine B is turned off, so it's only making 30 cans a minute. 480 divided by 30 gives you 16, so it will take 16 more minutes for machine A to produce these cans on its own. The question says, at what time will the required number of cans be produced? So we know we're at 1:25 PM and we've got another 16 minutes, so we just do 1:25 PM add 16 minutes, which gives you 1:41 PM. For the first part of this question, we need to factorise a quadratic. So we're after two numbers that multiply to make -24, and then also add to make -10. This turns out you want x plus 2 and x minus 12. For the next part, we need to solve the equation. Notice how it's the same numbers as in part A. So it's got the same factorisation, but this time it equals 0. If you look at the first bracket, x plus 2 equals 0 gives x equals -2, and the second bracket, x minus 12 equals 0, gives x equals 12. For this part, we're asked to complete the square. To do this, we'd write a bracket squared, and then half the coefficient of x. The coefficient of x is -10, so half of -10 is -5. We then square this, -5 squared is 25, and then take that away. And then there's also the -24 at the end of the question. We then simplify these last two bits here, so we've got x minus 5 squared, and then -25 subtract 24 is -49. Now it's in the completed square form. For the final part of this question, we need to find the vertex of the graph. Notice it's the same equation again, so we can write this in the completed square form. To find the vertex, you take the opposite sign of the number in the bracket, so -5, we take the opposite, +5, and then we take the last term at the end, -49. In this question, we need to mix yellow, blue and white paint in the ratio 3:7:2. Now this is the ratio of paint we require, but not the ratio of paint that we actually have. The ratio of the paints we have is 8:18:5. The way I would approach this question is work out which one of these paints will run out first. So if we work out how to get from these numbers to these numbers, we can see. To get from 3 to 8, we times by 2.6 recurring. You can work this out by doing 8 divided by 3. From 7 to 18 is times 2.57, and from 2 to 5 is times by 2.5. Since 2.5 is the lowest number, this means the white paint will run out first, since we can only take 2.5 lots of it and we would have used all of our paint. So what we do is we take 2.5 lots of the white paint and then 2.5 lots of all the other paints so that we get the right ratio. So times 3 by 2.5 and 7 by 2.5. This gives you 7.5 and 17.5. If we then add up all of these numbers, you'll get 30 litres of paint. So we'll use 7.5 of yellow, 17.5 of blue, and 5 of white, which is all of the white, so we can't make any more than this. The equation of a circle is given by x squared plus y squared equals r squared, where r is the radius. The equation we're given is x squared plus y squared equals 10. So we know that r squared must be 10. If r squared is 10, then you can square root both sides to get r equals square root 10. So that's the answer to the question. Notice we've ignored the negative square root 10 because you can't have a negative radius. For this question, we need to decide if the lines are perpendicular. To do this, we'll need to look at the gradients of each of the lines. The first line is straightforward. It's already in the form y equals mx plus c, so we know the gradient is 2/3. The next line though isn't, so we need to rearrange it to get it in the right form. To do this, we'll first of all take away 6x from both sides. If we take away 6x from the left, we've just got 4y, and if we take it away from the right, it comes out as 5 minus 6x. Then we divide both sides by 4, so on the left we get y, and on the right we get 5 over 4, take away 6 over 4x. And of course 6 over 4 can simplify to 3 over 2. We now have the gradient of this line, which is negative 3 over 2. If lines are perpendicular, when you multiply the gradients together, you'll get negative 1. So if we take 2/3 from the first line, and negative 3 over 2 from the second line, multiply them together, we get negative 6 over 6, which equals negative 1. So we've now shown the lines are perpendicular. In this question, we're told the equation of the line is y equals 3/4 x plus c. We're told one of the points on the line, 36, 15. So the x-coordinate is 36, the y-coordinate is 15. If we substitute these into the equation then, so y is going to be replaced with 15, equals 3/4 of x, but x is 36, and then plus c. We can simplify on the right hand side, so the left would stay as 15, the right will be 3/4 of 36, which is 27, plus c. You can then take 27 from both sides, and you'll get 15 take 27 is c, so c must be negative 12. To start this question, we're going to label on the coordinate information we're given. A is at 0, 8, so this is an 8 here, B is at 4, 0, so this is a 4, and C is at negative 3, 0, so this is a negative 3. If we look at the line AB in more detail, we're told in the question that AP to PB is in the ratio 3 to 1. This means if we drew the line AB, point P is on the line such that AP to PB is in the ratio 3 to 1. The vertical distance to get from A to B is 8 because of the coordinates of A, and the horizontal distance is 4 because of the coordinates of B. Now imagine instead we wanted to get from A to P. Well, we know this splits the line into the ratio 3 to 1, so AP represents 3/4 of the length of this line. So if we wanted to get from A to P, we'd need to do 3/4 of 8 and 3/4 of 4. So 3/4 of 8 is 6, and 3/4 of 4 is 3. So to get from A to P, I need to go down 6 and across 3. We know the coordinates of A, that's 0, 8. If we go down 6, the y-coordinate goes down 6, so from 8 to 2, and if we go across 3, the x-coordinate goes up 3, so from 0 to 3. So the coordinates of P are 3, 2. We can write that on the diagram. Now let's look at the line CD that I've marked in blue here. If we draw the line from C to D, point P is on that line, but this time it splits it into the ratio 2 to 3. But we know the coordinates of 2 points on this line. We know P already, that's 3, 2, and we know C because that's given in the question, negative 3, 0. Let's consider the journey from C to P. Horizontally we go from negative 3 to 3, that's a journey of 6. Vertically we go from 0 to 2, that's a journey of 2. Now how about going from P to D? Well, the line is split into the ratio 3 to 2, so if the previous journey represents 2 and this journey represents 3, it's just 50% more, or the same journey and an extra half. So horizontally, previously we went 6, now we'll go another half on top of that, half of 6 is 3, add that on we get 9. Vertically we went 2, half of 2 is 1, add that on you get 3. So to get from P to D I need to go horizontally 9 and vertically 3. So start with 3, 2, horizontally 9 we get to 12, 2, and add 3, going vertically we get to 12, 5. So the coordinates of D are 12, 5. In this question we're interested in fish that are less than 25 centimeters in length. If we look at our sample and look in the length column, the first group is from 0 to 10. This is definitely under 25, so we want all 8 of these fish, so write down 8 first. The next group is from 10 to 20, that's also definitely under 25, so we'll take those 11 fish, so add 11. The next group is from 20 to 30 though. Since 25 is in the middle of this, we'll assume half of these are below 25, half are above. So rather than 6, we'll take half of this group, so add 3. This gets a total of 22. Now this is only from our sample. Thomas sampled 25 fish, it says in the question, so 22 of the 25 fish were less than 25 centimeters. But we want to estimate how many of the fish in the lake were less than 25 centimeters. In the question right at the top it tells us there are 400 fish in the lake. So we can do 22 over 25 times 400. Use your calculator and you'll get 352 fish. For this question, first of all, use your calculator to do 15 divided by 12. This will give you 1.25. A multiplier of 1.25 corresponds to a 25% increase. So the answer is n has been increased by 25%. For this question, the cuboid is placed so that the pressure is the greatest. If the pressure is going to be the greatest, then the area must be the smallest. So we're interested in the smallest face. The smallest face is one of the ones on the sides here, so 6 by 3. So all we need to do is draw a 6 by 3 rectangle. We're now going to calculate the pressure. The formula for pressure is force over area. So pressure equals the force which is given in the question, that's 9 newtons, divided by the area. The area of the rectangle from the previous page is 6 times 3, 18. 9 divided by 18 is 0.5. For this question, we're going to find an inverse function. To start, replace the f of x with a y. So y equals x plus 2 over 3x. We then switch all of the x's with y's and all of the y's with x's. So rather than y equals, it's x equals. And then rather than x plus 2, it's y plus 2. And then rather than 3x, it's 3y. We then rearrange this to make y the subject. So start by timesing both sides by 3y. On the left, you'll get 3xy. And on the right it will be y plus 2. We then subtract y from both sides, so on the left 3xy minus y, and on the right 2. We can then factorise the y's out, so if we factorise y on the left hand side, we'll get y, and then inside the bracket 3x minus 1, and the right hand side is still 2. The last thing to do is just divide by this whole bracket, so we get y equals 2 over this whole bracket. Now that y is the subject, we can just replace y with f inverse of x. So f inverse of x is 2 over 3x minus 1. We're told the length of the road is 330 miles to two significant figures. This means the distance travelled could be anywhere between 325 and 335 miles. We're told that the car travels for 6 hours to the nearest hour. This means it could be anywhere between 5.5 and 6.5 hours. We then need to see if the driver has exceeded the speed limit. Speed is calculated by distance divided by time. Since we're trying to show the driver has exceeded the speed limit, we want the speed to be as large as possible. To make the speed as large as possible, we want to do the largest distance divided by the smallest time. So the upper bound of distance is 335 and the lower bound of time is 5.5. So 335 divided by 5.5 gives you 60.90 recurring miles an hour. Since this is greater than 60, the driver could have been speeding. For this question, we need to find the total height of the compound shape. In the question, we're told the formula for the volume of a sphere. It's 4/3 pi r cubed. But we don't have a sphere, we have a hemisphere, so we need to do half of this. If you times these fractions together, you'll get 4 over 6, which simplifies to 2 over 3. So the volume of our hemisphere is 2/3 pi r cubed. But we're told in the question that this hemisphere has a volume of 2000. So this equals 2000. We can now rearrange this to get r. So first of all, times both sides by 3. This will give you 2 pi r cubed equals 6000. Then divide by 2, so pi r cubed equals 3000. Then divide by pi, so r cubed is 3000 over pi, and then cube root both sides, so r is the cube root of 3000 divided by pi. You can type this into your calculator and you'll get this number here. So we can label r on the diagram now as 9.8 something. If we now turn our attention to the cone, the volume of the cone is also given, it's 1/3 pi r squared h. We know our cone has a volume of 3000, so write this. We can times both sides by 3 first of all, that will get rid of the third, so pi r squared h equals 9000. We can then divide both sides by pi r squared and we'll get h equals 9000 divided by pi r squared. But we already know what r is, so h equals 9000 divided by pi times r squared, but we know r is 9.8 something. If you type this into your calculator, you'll get this for h. Remember to use the exact number for the radius though. We can now label h onto our diagram. The question was to find the total height of this shape. We know h, but we don't know the height of the hemisphere. But we do, because the height of the hemisphere is just the radius, so another 9.8. So to get the total height of the shape, we just add h and r, which gives you a total combined height of 39.4. The first thing to do on this question is use some circle theorem laws. So we know the angle at the circumference here is 4x. The angle at the centre is always twice this, so the angle at the centre would be 8x. We can then spot that lines OB and OC are the same length, since they're both a radius. This means the triangle OBC is isosceles, which means the angle OCB is also 3y. The angles in a triangle add up to 180, so 8x add 3y must make 180. If we simplify this, we have 8x plus 6y is 180. Now to prove the statement in the question, we just need to rearrange to get y as the subject. First of all, take away 8x from both sides, the left would be 6y, and the right would be 180, take away 8x. We can then divide both sides by 6, on the left we'd end up with y, and on the right 180 minus 8x, both divide by 6. If we divide 180 by 6, we get 30, and 8 over 6 simplifies to 4 over 3, so it's minus 4 over 3x, and now we're done. Thank you for watching this video. I've included some rough grade boundaries here for you. Let me know in the comments how you've got on. Remember, these grade boundaries are estimates though. We never know the real grade boundaries until the papers have actually been done. Check out what I think you should watch next, and also subscribe so you don't miss out on the next video.